everyone. Have you ever made a decision and later wondered, did I really choose the best option? Every day, we make countless decisions. As teachers, we decide on how to teach our lessons, how to assess learners, and how to respond to unexpected classroom situations. Even school heads decide on budgets, programs, schedules, and policies. But have you ever asked yourself, do people always make the best possible decisions? Do people always make the best possible decisions? Are you unsure about your next steps? Now we will talk about decision making models. These are rationality model and bounded rationality model. We'll have the lesson outline. First, we'll discuss about decision theory. Then the rational model. Next, bounded rationality model and the difference between the two models and the application in educational management. Are you ready? What is decision theory? It is the study of how people make choices among different alternatives. It helps explain why people choose one option over another and what factors influence those choices. Again, we have these models. The first one is rational model and next bounded rationality model. Imagine you are buying a new laptop. Before purchasing, you compare every available brand, read all customer reviews, check every specification, compare prices from every store, and carefully calculate which one will give you the greatest value. Only after every possible option do you make your own decision. And that is the rational decision model. When we say rational decision making model, this model assumes that decision makers clearly identify the problem, gather complete and accurate information, consider every possible alternative, evaluate all consequences, and choose the option that gives the best possible outcome. Rational theory is a theory that assumes beings are rational creatures, which means they rely on reason and logic to make decisions. The commonly cited definition of the rational choice theory is that by Alster 1989, who submitted that when faced with several courses of action, people usually do what they believe is likely to have the best overall outcome. Assumptions. First, decisions are a simple matter of cost versus reward. Next, people take action when benefits outweigh cost. Third, people will take no action, stop talking, stop taking action, or take opposite action when costs outweigh benefits. And people utilize the resources they have at hand to maximize opportunity. Meaning to say, the rational model conveys optimal decision. The question is this how people actually make decisions in real life? Well, most of the time, the answer is no. And that paves the way for bounded rationality model. When we say bounded rationality model, Herbert Simon introduced this concept. He argued that people are not perfectly rational because our decisions are limited by three important factors. Well, the first one is limited information. We rarely know everything before making decisions. The second factor is limited time. Sometimes decisions must be made immediately. And third, limited mental capacity. And this paves the way for us to know this word satisficing. What is satisficing? It simply means selecting the first option that satisfactorily meets our needs instead of searching endlessly for the perfect one. Satisficing is the core mechanism of bounded rationality model or bounded choice. The human brain cannot analyze every possible alternative. So there are limitations, and specifically that limitations is mental capacity. So let's have a real life example. Suppose you are a grade 1 teacher and one morning you discover that your projector suddenly stops working just before your reading lesson begins. If you follow the rational model, you might explore every possible teaching strategy, compare all available resources, analyze which method would produce the highest learning outcomes, and evaluate every alternative before deciding. But your pupils, you know the situation, are already waiting. You only have a few minutes before class starts. Instead, you quickly decide to use flashcards and printed materials. You made the best possible decision given your time, available resources, and situation. That is bounded rationality model. Now, can you cite the difference between the two? Again and again, when we say bounded rationality model, you made the best possible decision given your time, available resources, and situation. Is it the perfect lesson? Maybe not. But is it effective? Yes. To give you a glimpse about the difference between the two, difference between the two models, rational model, ideal world. But when we say bounded rationality model, it's the real world. Moreover, rational model aims for best possible decision, while bounded aims for a practical and workable decision. Rational, it assumes complete information, while bounded accepts that information is often incomplete. It requires enough time to analyze every alternative, that is rational model. But bounded, it recognizes that many decisions must be made quickly. While rational model seeks the optimal solution, the bounded rationality model accepts a satisfactory solution. It answers the question in rational model, what is the absolute best choice? While in bounded, what is the best choice I can make under these circumstances? Let's move on to the application in educational management. As future educational leaders, this theory is highly relevant. School principals rarely have perfect information. Budgets are limited, policies change, parents have different expectations, and teachers have different needs. This is all about bounded rationality. They gather available information, consult stakeholders, when possible consider school policies and make decisions that are practical, timely, and beneficial for the school community. It doesn't mean they make poor decisions, but it only means they make realistic decisions. So remember again and again, rational model and bounded rationality models are both valuable. Rational model, it shows the ideal way decisions should be made under perfect conditions. It serves as a guide for systematic thinking. While bounded rationality model, it explains how decisions are actually made in the real world, where time, information, and human thinking are limited. It reminds us that effective decisions are not always perfect, but they are practical, informed, and appropriate to the situation. As educators and future educational managers, our goal is not always to find the perfect solution, but to make the best possible decision with the resources, information, and time available. Remember, good decisions are not always perfect decisions. They are the best decisions possible under circumstances.